Okay, much to get into this hour. This is really going to be interesting. We have someone who's in Israel this morning, and we're going to talk to them about just I don't know if you've seen. It's if you're anything like my wife, she's like, I can't watch this. I just can't watch. I can't watch the news right now because it is terrible. Imagine just sitting in your home and having these people just bang on your door and break your door down and take you out and take your kids.
It's
Just
it's like the worst nightmare you can
terrible.
ever imagine.
Yeah.
And now they're saying that because they're bombing and doing everything that they're doing to Hamas, that if it doesn't stop, they're going to execute the 10 or 12 hostages that
Correct.
they have. I mean,
Listen, I understand. I've been watching some of these reports, and you have people in New York City, for instance. You have people demonstrating on behalf of Jews in Israel, and then you have people on the other side of the street who are demonstrating in favor of the Palestinians. So I guess I can understand how maybe they weren't treated well. They've been impoverished, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of complaints the Palestinians have in the Gaza Strip, but nothing that I've heard to this point, and ever I can't imagine ever anything would justify going in and murdering innocent women and children and men, people who are just, they have nothing to do with it. In fact, many of these people oftentimes probably have some sympathy for the Palestinians in Gaza. No justification whatsoever. Can't imagine.
I saw yesterday, and again, I don't want to, I don't know. I think we see this we see this in politics with the fringe members get all the attention, but there was a protester in New York City, I think yesterday or Sunday night, who was basically had pulled up a swastika on his phone and was like flashing it at the pro-Israeli supporters, I guess I'll say. And it's just disgusting. Again, I don't want to label everybody on who was demonstrating, showing sympathy for the other side that way. But, I mean, we're pulling out swastikas and running around flashing those in people's faces, telling them they deserved what they got. I mean, come on.
Brutal. Really, really bad. But we'll speak with somebody coming up at around 8:30 this morning.
He's
who's
from
over
Utica.
there,
Yep.
and he's from here. Steve Brown is from Utica, has lived in Jerusalem for quite some time. He is an osteopath, and from Jerusalem is on the line right now. Stephen, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I can't imagine what you're going through, what the people of Israel are going through right now. It's been described as Israel's 9/11. When we see what happened depicted on television with basically it's live recorded videos, it's just horrific.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Good morning.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, it is likened to 9/11. As it stands right now, we have about 900 dead, almost 3,000 wounded, and around 125 people kidnapped. Including children and women and even grandmothers. I mean, for Israelis, this is a nightmare scenario. There's nothing could be worse. So we're all praying that we're going to come through this.
Steve, you've been out there for a long time. Let me ask, based on your location where you live out there, I mean, are you concerned someone might kick down your door? As some of the accounts that we've heard of what's gone on, are you, I guess, in some type of a safe space? How has this changed your day-to-day life? I can't imagine.
No, I'm not worried that somebody's going to actually kick down my door. But fortunately for me, I live in a new building, and every new building built in Israel has its own bomb shelter. So when the sirens go off, I head for the bomb shelter, and it takes me just a few seconds to get in there. I close the iron door, and it's steel reinforced concrete, and It's no guarantee, but it does make me feel a little bit more safe, to get my family inside there. But, when you're waking up out of a sound sleep with those sirens going off, it's pretty, uneasy feeling, to say the least.
Has there been anger from Israelis because this is one of the best militaries in the world, Israeli military, and the security has to be top level like almost no other place in the world. Are people and you wonder how did the United States not see this coming? How did Israel not see this coming? Has that been a conversation at this point?
Oh, very much so. I mean, that's the question that everyone's asking. Israel is supposed to have the top intelligence in the world, and this has been planned by Hamas for a very long time, and I guess we're going to hopefully find out the answers. Now, what we understand is that this is all backed by Iran. This is funded by Iran, and unfortunately, we know that the Biden administration gave Iran recently $6 billion for the release of 6 American hostages. I always believe that we're not supposed to negotiate with hostages, but Biden administration gave $6 billion to Iran, and that money has gone to funding Hamas. And we also are coming to see that some of the weapons that America sold gave to Ukraine is being bought off of the black market and obtained by Hamas. So that's being used against Israel as well.
Well, if I can just say, the Biden administration says that none of that money has been distributed as of yet. However, it's like it allows them to say, okay, we know we have this money coming. We can spend this money here. I guess that's certainly possible. At the end of the day, you don't have to wonder about Iran, because they celebrated this. They at the highest level of government, they have celebrated this attack. I mean, that should tell us any deal that is pending right now should be null and void. There should be no deal.
Yeah, I mean, completely correct. And the thing that we're almost worried about, and America should be worried about as well, is if Iran obtains nuclear weapons, that is a real game changer.
Yeah.
So, who knows, we're in a way right in the beginning of this war. The great danger is that in the northern Israel, in Lebanon, there's another terrorist organization called Hezbollah, which is also backed by Iran. And they are much, much more powerful than Hamas. They have very powerful weapons, even, guided weapon systems. If they get into the fray, I mean, there have been small skirmishes, but nothing really too big yet. But if they get into the fray, then we could be looking at a war on several fronts. And then there's the possibility of, Israel looking at possibly taking out the Iranian nuclear split, which, in my opinion, that needs to be done, because if they get nukes, they're going to hold the whole world hostage.
Right.
Even if they don't use them, they're going to hold everyone hostage.
Yeah. Well, when you really think about it, that's what nuclear countries do. It's what Putin has been doing. While certainly we don't think he's going to use those, he has certainly threatened and not taken it off the table, which completely changes the way we deal with a country that is a nuclear power. So, speaking with Steve Brown, he's from Utica. He's lived. How many years have you lived in Jerusalem, Steve?
About 18 years.
Okay.
He 18 is 18 years, but right around now, I really miss Utica.
Yeah,
I love Utica. I still have a lot of friends there. I keep in touch with all the time.
Matter of fact, Steve, one of them, Kevin, reached out to say, please tell Steve I'm praying for him. He's like a brother to me. Love him like a brother.
As a
thanks. I went to UFA with him.
As an osteopath, have you seen any of the any patients, or are you far enough away where you haven't seen any patients?
I've treated a lot of soldiers. I have a lot of patients that are soldiers, but I haven't. I've put in my name to volunteer, but I haven't gotten out there yet. But I'm sure I will be treating people, as soon as possible.
Wow.
You mentioned Russia, and one of the things I want to emphasize is, we're all familiar with the concept, MAD, mutual assured destruction. And we lived through the Cold War, and because we knew that, there was rationality there, that, if somebody pressed the button, we knew we'd all be destroyed. But with these fundamental Islamic, radicals, so it's a culture of death. They yearn, for the next world. So it's fanaticism. Something like that we can't imagine. So it's not the same thing as Russia.
No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, listen, we lived through it during 9/11. These were people who, it's hard to conceive that they hate us so much that they were willing to take down innocent women and children and innocent men and fly them into buildings in their airplane and die themselves because what they receive, they believe they're going to receive is something glorious, which is hard for us to be able to understand. I can't imagine such a small country as Israel living and surrounded by all of this, where that everyone surrounding you wants you to be eradicated from the planet. It's just, I can't imagine what that must be like every day.
Actually, people don't understand how small Israel is. It's actually around the size of New Jersey.
Yeah.
But, in recent years, thanks to Trump, actually, because, of the Abraham Accords.
Right.
So there's been a lot of peace agreements. And I believe another motivation for this war is the possibility right now of a peace agreement with Saudi Arabia, which would be a wonderful thing.
Right.
And, for many reasons. And Iran absolutely does not want Israel.
Correct. Which is probably why this is happening right now.
It's one of the reasons, for sure.
Well, just hate alone alone is also one of the reasons. And I do have to say, and I'm sure you, based on how I hear your politics, I do think for this moment, Netanyahu is the right person for this job. He will be relentless, and there's only one course of action. You have to eliminate the enemy.
I completely agree with you. I mean, in the past, Gaza, the Hamas took over Gaza in around 2005 when Israel unilaterally pulled out of there. They have no presence in the Gaza Strip. And, since then, they've launched, many attacks, but this is by far the worst.
Yeah.
There are more Jews that have been killed, in the last couple of days than since the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And so this policy that Israel has had until now of deterrence, of trying to make peace with these people, is failed. And people are finally beginning to wake up to that, in my opinion, when you have an evil as great as this, I mean, you see what they've done. You see the videos of killing children and killing women and raping them and just the worst atrocities you can possibly imagine, that evil must be obliterated. I mean, turn I don't want to see any innocents get killed, okay? But the innocents need to get out of there, and we need to turn Gaza into a parking lot, basically. That's how I feel.
I could not criticize you for feeling that way. I don't know how else I would feel if I were in your shoes. Rob this morning says, technically, base per capita, it's worse than our 9/11. The dead in Israel equals 30,000. When you look at the population, it's equivalent to 30,000. Had 30,000 died during 9/11, and we know that it was just under 4,000 here. So obviously, both were equally horrific, but.
Yeah, I mean, the scary part is it's not over yet. And as I said, I mean, the thing that really concerns me is if Hezbollah, gets into the fray. But maybe it's time, Maybe it's time.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies is The Godfather, and Michael Corleone's idea of cutting off the heads of the 5 families. To take power. I mean, maybe that's a bad analogy, but maybe we need to take out Hamas and Hezbollah and the radicals that are running Iran. And by the way, I feel sorry for the Iranian people. I think a lot of them are good people, and they're being very, totally oppressed by the fanatical Iranian regime. So,
you look at what the young people, many of the students have done there, but they are punished so viciously. You just don't. It's very difficult for them to accomplish any bit of progress there. So Steve Brown from Utica has lived in Jerusalem for the last 18 years, is living through this horrific scene, and we appreciate the update. Maybe we can do this again next week. I'd love to check back in with you.
Absolutely, and I just want to say I've gotten tremendous support and messages and prayers, and please pray for us. I mean, because we feel it and we appreciate it, and it matters. It really, truly does. So thank you.
All right, Steve. Thank you. We'll speak next week. Thank you.
Of course, again,
Very
that
good.
is
Thank you. Bye-bye.
right. Steve Brown,
Be safe.
Originally from Utica, who has lived in Jerusalem for the last 18 years, and obviously a scary situation there for him.
We'll break and come back. It's 8:52 at WIBX.